Hey guys, it's Cameron. Welcome back to Life of a Dev, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to build, well, I guess I should just show you real quick, but we're going to be building a simple mobile navigation menu. Let me bring this over to my other screen real quick. In all HTML, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript. So as you see, when you're on the desktop site, you just have this really nice navigation up top, and then when you collapse it down to mobile, that navigation menu disappears. You get these three bars, and then when you click it, you get this nice side navigation. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to create this in just using HTML, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript, and then I might go over this same tutorial again, but using a JavaScript framework like React. So let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to go ahead and close this. If you'd like to just get the GitHub, there's a GitHub repo to the finished project if you would just like to have the finished files and wouldn't like to code along. But if you would like to code along, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to open a new folder here, and we're going to create a new file. Actually, we'll go in here, and okay, select folder, and this is the actual project, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete all three of these. And we'll start from fresh. So what we'll do is we'll create a new file, and we'll call this index.html. We're just going to go ahead and get the outline and structure of the navigation menu done first. Then we'll move to the styling to get it to look right, and then we will ultimately add the JavaScript so that way it functions. So the first thing, I'm going to be using Emmet. Emmet is an extension for VS Code, which allows you to use shortcuts. It just makes me more efficient and allows me to create elements with classes a lot faster. So I'm going to create an HTML5 document, and hit tab. And as you see, all I did was type HTML5, and then Emmet did the rest. We can go ahead and give this a new title here, mobile friendly. We'll just call it mobile nav bar for short. Okay. And then we can go ahead and spin this up with Live Server. Live Server is another extension. If you guys don't have either of these extensions, you can just come in here and type in Emmet, I believe. I don't know how you get Emmet. I might just be spelling it wrong. And then you can also get Live Server as well, which is right there. And I already have it installed, but you can go ahead and install it, and that's just how we'll be running our HTML files. And it popped up here. As you see, we just get a blank website with nav bar as the title. So let's go ahead and go into our body tag, and let's start building this structure out. So the first thing we're going to want is we're going to want a header with the class name of header. And then inside that, we're going to have a nav menu, and inside that, we're going to have two divs. So if I open up the initial project here, I'll show you what it looks like. So we have this header section here, and then we have a navigation menu also inside of here, which spans the entire section, and we have a left and a right section. On our right section, we have this navigation menu, and then on our left section, we have those three bars. They're actually hidden right now, but we still need to create a space for them to live. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll have a div with the class of nav right, nav underscore right. And then we'll also have another div with the class of nav left. Okay, so now once we have those two divs, we can go into the left div here, and we're going to just create a bunch of anchor tags. So we'll just do a times 5. Oh, that didn't work. A times 5, and that will give us 5 anchor tags. Now I'm just going to go ahead and edit all of these and just throw a hash sign or a pound sign in for the link, so that way it doesn't actually take you anywhere. And then we'll just have home, if I can spell, home gallery, contact us, or we'll do about us or projects, about us, and contact us. Okay, and then in this nav, right, we're going to be using a font awesome icon. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it in here, but you would want to, sorry, I'm just going to go ahead and put it in here for now. Sorry, I don't know where I was going with that. It's early, FA-bars, I believe. Yeah, FA bars. Okay, so that should give us our basic desktop navigation. So if we go ahead and save that, we should see the changes here. You're not going to see that icon until we go ahead and grab our font awesome kit. So let's go to font awesome. And I'm going to go to my kits. If you don't have an account, go ahead and create an account and create a kit. Kits are free, or at least the free kit's free. And we'll go ahead and copy that kit here. Go ahead and put this into our head tag. And as you should see, we should have that little icon. Boom, perfect, awesome. So let's go ahead and finish out the rest of the structure here. Below this head tag, we're going to have a main section, and that's going to have a class name of, we're just going to call it landing page, underscore page. Oh, that's not how you spell page. And within this landing page section, we're going to have our mobile navigation and our content. So if we look here, and we actually drop this down, this landing section here actually has two pieces of information. It holds our landing content section, which has our logo or our call to action, whatever you'd have there. And then it also houses this mobile navigation here. So that's what we're going to go ahead and create now. Jump back over to our current project and let's get into it. So within here, we're going to have another nav menu, but this time we're going to go ahead and give it a class name of mobile nav, or mobile underscore nav. And we're also going to have 5 more A tags. Oh, shit. 5 more A tags here, or anchor tags. And once again, we'll just populate them with the hashtag or pound sign, and we'll do, once again, we'll do home, gallery, gallery, projects, about us, and contact us. Did that twice, didn't I? Contact us. Okay, and I messed up that anchor tag, so go ahead and fix that. ES will automatically close that for me. So, okay. So we have our landing page with our mobile navigation, and then we're going to need one more div, and this is where our actual landing content will go, or the actual call to action or whatever you have in there. And it'll just be a div, and we'll give it a class of landing page content. Okay, and then inside here, we'll just do an H1, and we're going to do the really awesome company, because Tesla already stole boring company. So we have the really awesome company. Really awesome co. We'll just call it really awesome co. Not bro. Okay, really awesome co. And if we go back here, we should see awesome. Oh, there's a little error there. So let's go ahead and fix that. We just have an extra closing tag here. And as you see, we have our bar icon, we have our desktop navigation, we have our mobile navigation, and we have our landing content. But it looks really, really bad. So let's go ahead. What we'll do now is we'll jump into the CSS of things. So go ahead and create a new file. We'll call it style, style dot CSS. Hit enter. And we're just going to go ahead and link that right away. So we'll come right above our font awesome kit. It's going to be a link with a rel of style sheet. That's not useful sheet. Style sheet. We'll have a type of text /CSS, and we'll link to that ./style.css, and just go ahead and close that up. And then we'll hop into our style.css and we'll start styling things. The first thing I want to do is I want to do a wildcard, so this will target every value or every element within the DOM. And we're just going to do a simple reset, so margin 0, padding 0, and then box sizing, border box. So if you don't know what box sizing border box is, basically, I'm going to do a really simple, I'll just describe it really simply. So let's say you have a div here that's 100 pixels. With the default box sizing on HTML elements, if you add 1% border, that div size is now 101 pixels, or 1 pixel border, that div size is now 101 pixels. And then if you add like 10% pad or 10 pixels padding, it's 111 pixels. So with border box, what it tells you to do is if we give a div 200 pixels or 100 pixels, but then we give it 10 pixels of padding, it actually keeps that box 100 pixels no matter what, and then starts cutting into our content. So I just like to code that way. I reset everything. I find it a little easier to debug CSS when you're like that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to target the body and the HTML tag, and we're just going to set those with a width of 100% and the height of 100% as well. And then what we're going to do is after basically this is our reset and our setup here, so we can actually target our first element. The first element we're going to target is our header element here, and we're just going to go ahead and throw some default styles on there. So we'll go .header, or element with the class name of header. We'll give it a width of 100%, and we'll give it a height of 45 pixels. Okay. Go ahead and save that there, and perfect. I know not much has changed, but we've just basically, as you can see, there's 0 margin for everything, 0 padding for everything, and then we've also basically, if I just go over here and just plop background pink, you'll see the changes we've made to that element. So you see it's 45 pixels, and then it spans the entire div. So that's exactly what we want to do. The next element we're going to target, I'm actually going to remove this background here. So once we have that header div spanning the entire page and then the height we want it, we're going to actually target the navigation menu here. We didn't actually specify a class, so we're just going to use selectors. So what we'll do is we'll just say the element that has a class name of header, and we are targeting the navigation tag within that header class. So since we don't have any padding, there's no spacing in here, we're going to actually add some spacing here. We're going to do padding. We'll do 10 pixels off the top and 5 pixels in the back. Sounds like some cats outside. Don't know if you guys can hear that. We'll give it a width of 100% and a height of 100%. So this actually won't span the entire page, but this will span the entire div. So Let me give this a background size of, or background color, just to show you what I mean. Background pink. Okay, let's see. So yeah, so as you see, basically the same thing. I'm sorry guys, I had to go check on there's a cat fight on the deck. There's this neighborhood cat that likes to beat up or bully one of our cats. And, I don't even know where I was, I apologize. Let's get back into it here. So yeah, so what we just done is we just declared the width and the height of the navigation menu and gave it a background in pink just to represent that this element here is actually spanning the entire width and height of this parent element. So what would be next? So we have these elements stacked on top of each other here. We don't want these to be stacked on top of each other. We want them to be in line, and we also want to position them left and right. So the easiest way to do that is to use Flexbox. So we'll go ahead and jump back in here, and we'll go ahead and give it a display value of flex. So display flex. We'll justify the content. So this is we're going to justify it space between, which will push the elements away from each other. Basically pushing one element left and one element right. Or one of its child elements, which would be these two divs here. So what we just did is we're saying push this element as far right as possible and push this element as far left as possible. And then the next thing we'll do is we'll align. We want them to be aligned in the center. So justify or align item center, and we can go ahead and save that. And as you see, we have our element pushed far right or left, and then pushed far right as well over here. And then we still have our mobile navigation and our company logo, but we'll mess with those later. So hop back over here, and we're just going to give this an actual background color, just to make it look a little bit better. I'm not going to do a complete black. We'll just do 1E, and that's just a really, really dark gray, as you see here. So let's move on. The next thing I want to style, we'll just keep moving down. We're going to want to style this icon here. By default, we don't want to display it at all. And then we'll change that with a media query. So what we'll do is we'll use another selector. So we can just go ahead and grab this class name here, drop down into our style, basically navigation right, or I guess it'd be nav left, but yeah. We'll just leave it nav right, and then the the italic element within that nav right class, we'll have a display of none. And then, well, actually, let's change the color first, because if we look at it, it's just black, and it doesn't really show up well here. So we'll just go color, and we'll give it a white color. Awesome. Okay. And we're actually going to leave this. We'll add display none here in a second. Let's go ahead and style these. It looks like we just have a bunch of links, and we don't want that. We want it to look like actual buttons. So what we'll do is in here, we'll go ahead and target this navigation left element here. And there's no spacing between these elements, so we'll add spacing as well. But first thing we want to do is we're going to want to change this main container element that holds all the links. We're going to want to make it a display flex as well. So display flex. Cool. And that, as you see, that eliminates all the padding, so it just looks like one long word. And then we can style the anchor tags here now as well. So we'll use the selector, so nav left, and then all of the anchor tags within the navigation left class or div. Okay, so they don't have any padding, so let's go ahead and give them a little bit of space to breathe. We'll do 10 pixels top and 20 pixels left and right. And then we'll give them a nice rectangular shape and some nice spacing as you see here. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to make it fill the entire height. So we'll go height, we'll just set it 45 pixels, which is the same as the navigation menu here. And then we will give it the actual anchor tags display of flex, and text direction. Give it a text decoration of none, and that will remove the blue color. We also want to justify content center and align the items. Oh, I forgot my semicolon. Line items center as well, and that's just going to make sure that these are perfectly in the center of each of their containers, I guess, or like we turned it into a block element basically. So if I went like, I guess I can't do that. I'll have to do it on a hover state. Let's go ahead and actually add that hover state now. So we're going to take the same selector here, and we're just going to append it with the hover status. So as someone hovers over it, we're going to give it a background color. We'll do RGBA, and we're going to give it that nice cyan color, and we'll tone it down a little bit with the opacity. So cyan is 0 red, 100% green, and 100% blue. And then we'll do 0.5 in opacity. So that it won't be a pure cyan, it'll be like an off cyan because it will be see-through, and you'll get the gray background there as you see here. So looks good to me. The next thing we're going to want to do is, so we have that hover state, so we actually want to give this a color property. And we'll change this color to white just to match the button. So now those links shouldn't be blue and they shouldn't be underlined. Awesome. So you see we have our navigation links here and our hamburger menu over here. Perfect. Looking good, looking good. So the next thing we're going to want to style is actually our landing page. So we have this whole section here styled and looking good. Looks like a normal navigation menu, but we also have this hamburger, which we will hide later on. But now we want to create and design and style this landing page section. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we're going to target this landing page section, or this landing page element here, or this element with the class name of landing page. And what we're going to do is we want it to span a width of 100%, so we want it to span as much as possible, as well as the height of 100%. And then we'll do display. This will be display flex as well. Actually, we don't need that. We can just leave that out, actually. Now, okay, so we just did is if I just do background pink here, you'll see what we did. So, as you see, we just styled this section here to have a background color of pink, and yeah. That's basically all we did, and to span the entire width and the entire height. So we can pull that background pink off, and we can hop to the next element. So inside of our landing page here, we have our navigation menu and our landing page content. And actually, we do need to give this display flex. And what that will do is that will force our items, instead of being stacked on top of each other like they used to be, now they sit side by side, which is what we want. And then we can target our navigation menu here. So let's go ahead and style this navigation menu and get it looking how we want. And we can go from there. So we want to give this a width, but we don't want to set the width to like 100 or anything. We actually want to specify a minimum width. So that way, no matter, it can get as big as it wants, but it won't get as big as it wants, but it will have a minimum width of at least 250 pixels. So that way, basically what we're saying is this element cannot be any smaller than 250 pixels. We'll also give it a display of flex. We actually want to change the flex direction. So by default, flex element will sit side by side. We actually want them to sit in a column. So what we'll do is we'll go flex direction column. And if we hit save, as you see, perfect. So we have this element that spans 250 pixels and our anchor tags are stacked on top of each other. Okay, so now that we have that, we want to align our items center. That will make everything go to the center. Awesome, and then we want to give it the same background as this header so that the colors match and it doesn't look weird. So we'll do background. We will do 1E, 1E, 1E. And don't forget my semicolon. And perfect. Awesome. So now we have this main navigation as well as this mobile navigation here. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to target our anchor tags within this mobile navigation so we can get them looking like the other anchor tags at the top as well. So they look uniform here. So what we'll do is we'll give them, so these anchor tags are going to span 100% of this div. They'll span from side to side. So we don't actually need to give them side padding, but as you see, the space between them is there's no space between them. So we need to add space between them using padding. So what we'll do is we will give them a padding of 20 pixels top and bottom, and then 0 pixels left, right. We will assign a width of 100%, so that way they span the entire div. And we will also give them a display flex. We will justify content center and align items center. Awesome. So now we should, perfect. So you see we have a little bit of space between each link and then the text is directly centered. So works for me. We need to remove the line so we can go, or the underline, so we can go text decoration. Text decoration, none. That will remove the underline, and then we also want to assign a color so that way they don't stay blue. Awesome. Looking good, looking good. The next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to add a hover state. So when we hover over these elements, the background color changes like it did on the other set. So we're going to just do hover. and we can actually just copy this right here because we want it to be the same. Now if we go back and hover over them, you see we have the exact same color as we did over here. So, oh, what's next? What's next? So I guess the next thing we can do is actually target this landing page content, which will actually be our actual landing page or our call to action, etc. So target this class name here. We want to make sure that the minimum, once again, we're going to set a minimum width of 100%. So this way it can't get any smaller than 100%, which will cause an overflow. As you see, we have a scrollable overflow, and we want that. We'll handle that later. So, but that's how this navigation works, is it will slide in from the side, causing this element to overflow to the right. So the next thing we're going to add is we're going to turn itself, or this element again, into a Flexbox. We're going to justify the content center and align the item center as well. Okay, so that should work. Awesome. Now this is really, really boring. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll go to Pixels, which is a free stock photography website. And we'll just grab an interesting image here. So that could work. We'll grab this. So we will open image in new tab, and then we want the full resolution. We don't want a small image here. So as you see, that took a little while to load, but that's because it's a very high res image. So we'll go ahead and copy that URL, go into our CSS here, assign a background element, specify that it's a URL, and then we'll put the image URL there, and we'll come back and we should have that image. As you see, it's just one portion. It's like this upper sky part because the image is such a high resolution image. So we'll add some CSS to make it cover the entire section. So the first thing we'll do is we'll do no repeat. It's not going to repeat because it's such a big image. And we can do center. So what that does, it says that specifies we want the very center of the image. So if we went back here, now you see we get the very center of the image here. But we want to see the entire image. So what we'll do is we'll hop back into our CSS here, and we will give it a background. Oh, I gotta put my semicolon here. We'll give it a background size of cover. And now if we go back, we should get at least a majority of that image. And what we'll do here is we'll change the color of this text here to make it look a little better. So we'll go color FFF. Awesome. And it still doesn't stand out very much, so I'm actually going to give a text shadow. So we'll do text shadow, 2 pixels, 2 pixels, 2 pixels, 2 pixels, and then 20 pixels. So basically left, right, and then the amount of, I believe it's like the spread of the shadow, I guess. I don't know exactly. But, and then we'll assign it that nice gray color. Awesome. So now you see we have a little bit of a shadow underneath there, and it pops a little bit more. It doesn't look as flat, which is what we want. So then the next thing we'll do, so since we have everything here, we have everything we want, We're going to go ahead and eliminate this overflow here. We don't want this overflow. So what we'll do is we will go back into our CSS, and we're going to go up to our landing page element here, and we'll just assign it an overflow of hidden. And that should, awesome. So now we don't have that left-right overflow anymore. Obviously, when we're in our desktop navigation, we want to hide this mobile navigation and our hamburger menu. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll go back up to our navigation left, and we will just give it, actually, no, we want mobile nav, sorry, not navigation left. I was like, why is that not? Yeah, so we'll give it, instead of a min width of 250 pixels, we'll give it a min width of 0 pixels. So that will basically remove that element here. As you see, we just have our landing page, but we still have our hamburger menu here. So what we'll do is we'll find our hamburger menu, which is in the nav right, and we'll just give it a display of none. And that should remove. Awesome. So this is our normal desktop look. This is the look of our desktop application, but we want it so when we resize that our mobile navigation appears and our desktop navigation disappears. And that way we can open and close our navigation. So how do we do that? We're going to do that in CSS using a media query. So at the bottom of our code here, we will add a media query. We're going to go at media only screen and max width. And we'll just do 500 pixels. It's probably going to be more like 600, but you may have to tweak this value. I'll show you how you can find this value. So what you can do is you can open up the inspect element here, and it popped up on my other screen here. But you can open up the inspect element here, and then you can close it down. And as you see, it gives you the amount of pixels here. And basically, depending on how many links you have, you basically just want to scrunch it up until it doesn't look good anymore, which honestly I'd say is probably around 550. Yeah, right around here. We'd probably want to remove this menu and turn it into our mobile-friendly menu here. So let's go ahead and say 550 instead of 500. So 550 pixels. And then we'll change our elements in here. So what this is saying is once our screen reaches a max width of 550 pixels, run this code. And what we're going to do is we're going to make our hamburger menu visible, and that's under nav right. We're targeting the I, the italics element, and we'll just assign it a display of block. Which is its default value. The next thing we want to do is, so let me show you this. If we collapse this down to 550 pixels, we get our hamburger menu, but you see how we get a nice little cursor, like we can actually click these links. When we hover over the hamburger menu, our cursor stays the same. It doesn't actually look clickable. So what we'll have to do is we'll give it a cursor of pointer. So what we can do is we'll just say nav right, the italic element, and then on hover we'll give it a cursor of pointer. So now if we go back and we collapse it, it gets a nice pointer cursor, which makes it look actually clickable. And then the next thing we want to do is we actually want to hide this navigation menu. when we get to a certain size. So let's go ahead and do that now. So what we'll do is in here, we'll go navigation left, which holds our main navigation menu, and we'll do display none. So now what should happen is when we reach that critical size, boom, as you see, we get our hamburger menu, but our desktop menu disappears. So if we were to click that, as you see, nothing happens. That's where the JavaScript will come in handy. So let's go ahead and jump into the JavaScript here. So what we'll do now is we'll create a new file, and we will call this script.js. And we want to include that in here. So we'll go up to the top of our in our head section, and we will we'll link it here. So what we'll do is we'll do script. We actually want to defer this script. So what that means is this page will continue to load, and it will load this script, but this page is not going to wait for this script to be fully loaded. It's going to continue to load while we're loading this script. It's not going to be a lot of JavaScript at all, so it probably won't take a long time to load at all, but it's still nice just to defer it. Awesome. So we've gone ahead and linked that there. We'll go ahead and open our script, and so the first thing we're going to need is, let me go ahead and make this small so we can see. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen for a click event on this element, and then if that element is clicked, we're going to open or close the navigation menu. So let's go ahead and let's listen for that click. So what we'll do is we'll go document dot query selector. That will let us select an element on the DOM, which will be FA bars. And on this element, we're going to add an event listener. We're going to listen for a click. And once we get that click, we'll just run an anonymous arrow function here. Awesome. And let's just make sure that's working we'll just alert clicked, just to make sure that's working. So when we do click this element here, we should get a pop-up menu. Awesome. As you see, we got that little pop-up menu, which means our event listener is working. So now what we want to do is we want to select the element we want to change. The element we want to change is the actual mobile navigation menu. We want to, basically what we're going to do is we're going to undo this, the min width. So we set the minimum width to 0 pixels. So what we'll do is we'll actually set the minimum width in JavaScript back to the 250 pixels, which will open our navigation menu. So let's go ahead and just select it. So we'll go document dot query selector. Once again, we're going to select the element that has a class of mobile nav. We're going to change a style element, or the style of this element, and then we're going to be changing the min width. And we can just set it equal right now to 250 pixels and see if that works. So we'll go back over here and we should, awesome. So once we click that, as you see, our mobile navigation opens up and our landing page content slides to the side. But as you see, when we click to close it, it doesn't close. So we're going to implement kind of like state for this element. We need a way to see if navigation menu is open or not, and then we're going to change the minimum width based off of whether the state of this navigation menu. So what we'll do is we'll create a variable. We'll assign a let variable so that way we can change it, and we'll just call it nav open. And by default, it will be set to false. And it automatically changed it to const because I'm not reassigning it. Thanks. Yeah, it's going to continue changing it to const. That's my ESLint. Basically, if I don't reassign the variable later on, it changes it to const. So what we'll do in here is we're going to use something called a ternary operator to assign this width. So basically, a ternary operator is basically just it's an if-else statement. It's written a little bit differently, but instead of writing code like if this, so if navbar do this, else navbar do this, we can actually shorten it using a ternary operator here, and I will show you how that's done. So we will set the minimum width to navbar, and we'll actually create a ternary operator, and we will do 0 pixels, and else we will do 250 pixels. So I know this might seem weird, but let me go over it before my ESLint changes it, because it's going to. So, or Prettier is actually going to change it, but so basically what we're saying is if navigation menu is open, so if this is set to true, then set it to 0 pixels. If it's set to false, we want to set this variable to 250 pixels. It's basically just an if-else statement, but as you see when I save it, it's going to drop it down. That syntax is correct. That's just Prettier cleaning up my code for me. And then we actually want to change this variable, and we want to toggle it. So we can't just be like nav open equals true. That won't work. And the reason that won't work is because once we set it to true, we need to set it back to false if we're closing the menu. So what we can do is we can say nav menu equals the opposite of its current state. And we can close that off. And it's going to give me a bunch of errors because it's a constant up here. So now we should be able to assign it to let and save it. So now let's go ahead and test if our code works over here. So if we click it open, we should be able to open it here, and we should be able to close it as well. Awesome. So now as you see, we can open and close our navigation menu. But it's very jarring. It's very disorienting, and it happens very, very fast. We don't want it to happen that fast. We want it to kind of smoothly transition, similar to this one here. As you see, that smoothly slides in and out and is a lot less jarring and a lot more aesthetically pleasing. So we'll hop back into the CSS here, and there's just a few things we want to change. We want to set this mobile navigation here. We want to set the transition. Transition. If I can spell. Transition all. Really, we're just transitioning the min width, but it's easier just to say all. We want it to be a linear transition, and we want it to take 250 milliseconds. You can play with this timing, but 250 milliseconds should be good. So we can test it out. There we go. So that's how it's done, guys. That's how you build a mobile-friendly and desktop navigation menu using CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. This video did run a little long. It's about an hour long. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any questions, please leave comments in the description. Or please leave your questions in... sorry, it's early. It's 6 a.m. I got up at 4 a.m. I'm not a morning person, so... I'm a little out of it, but I figured I might as well be productive and show you guys how to do this and make this navigation menu. So, like I said, the GitHub repo will be in the description. If you guys just want to pin, or not pin, if you guys want to clone the code and use this as a starting point to get you off the ground, you guys are more than welcome. If you guys want to code along and kind of learn how it's done, you guys are more than welcome. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please hit the like button if you guys did enjoy. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm, especially with me being such a small channel. Subscribe as well if you guys haven't subscribed already. We're going to be doing a lot more coding tutorials. I'm trying to get a little bit of a backlog, so hopefully I can upload regularly. And maybe I might show you guys how to do this in React, because it's a lot easier in React if you guys know React. But if you guys just wanted to do it in basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, that is how it's done. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Later, guys.